To my fellow pig farmers out there, we all know how difficult it is right now to run our pig farms. The feeds are expensive, the cost of power is high, the cost of even labor is also high because you have to pay your workers. All these things are making it difficult for a farmer, a pig farm owner to even survive because the running cost is getting higher and higher and higher because of the rate at which inflation is also rising. So these are very, very difficult times for us pig farmers because we have a lot of things on our table. So basically, I reached the farm this morning and I'm thinking, what can I do to basically make sure I'm still profitable? And I decided to share some of my ideas with you people, with you friends of mine, because you all are my friends. So basically, what most people would do in times like this, due to how expensive feeds are, is to compromise on their feed quality. Assuming you used to feed your pigs corn, maybe you start feeding them corn chaff or maize offal just to cover up. Now that's also good because when times are hard, you have to improvise. You have to use cheaper alternatives. That's good too. But what I usually advise people when they ask me, how can they cope with the rising cost of feed? How can they cope with the rising cost of producing their animal? My own method of coping is basically I don't compromise their feet to start with. Because when you compromise their feet, number one, it will slow down their growth. Number two, it will make it harder for them to reach market weight at the right time, which means they will stay on your farm more. And the more they stay on your farm, the more they consume food, the more you pay for the laborers, and the more they consume water, which are the major expenses that has to do with running a pig farm. So what do I do? First of all, you have to not compromise your feeding quality or your feeding method. Keep feeding your animals the way you are feeding them. Maybe you might compromise certain things. Maybe if you want to compromise their feed, don't compromise 100% of their feed. Maybe you can compromise 10%. Maybe, okay, assume you used to use soya bean. Maybe because of how costly it is now. If you used to use 200 kg of soya bean to formulate your 1 ton of feed, maybe you might cut down the soya bean to 100 kg and then find an alternative, a cheaper alternative. It could be fish meal, it could be blood meal to supplement the 100 kg you cut out from the soya bean just to reduce your cost. Because I think the highest protein of feed for pigs is soya bean, followed by blood meal and then fish meal. There are also other alternatives, but these are the three main ones. So apart from cutting out the 100 kg and placing it with a cheaper alternative, the next thing you have to do is increase your price. I know that for some of us who are into pig farming, is more of a passion. We want to raise our animal. We want to always make sure that our animals have the best. But at the same time, you also have to consider the cost of raising them. And for you to consider the cost of raising them, that means if the cost is high, you have to sell at a higher rate. Right now in Nigeria, because I'm in Nigeria, Abia State to be precise, Aba to be precise, a kg of pig right now used to be sold at 2,000 naira, used to be sold at 2,2. But as feeds kept rising, we had to increase to 2,003. That's 2,300 naira. As it kept rising, we had to increase to 2,400. And now we are selling at 2,500 because we have to meet up. The moment you stop producing your animals, those that usually come to your farm will stop coming to your farm. They don't care what happened to you or not. All they know is that this guy has stopped producing pigs. Therefore, there's no need going to his farm. So therefore, for you to make sure that those customers are still coming, you have to increase your price so that you can be able to cover up, so that you will not start tampering with your capital. Because there is one thing about running a business is you have to keep making profits, because if you're not making profits, you are going down. And before you know it, you start touching your capital. And once you begin to touch your capital, it begins to go down. And before you know it, you have an empty farm. So you have to keep increasing price to meet up. To meet up. Now, another thing you have to do is get better breeds. I keep emphasizing on this because this is like one of the major things you have to do if you really want to run a successful farm. You cannot run a successful pig farm without the right breeds. Let's shift. So this money we are giving our some of our pigs injection. So basically, so you have to improve your breeds. If you don't have the right breeds on your farm, it's a huge problem because the more you feed these animals, the more they consume feed, and they will not still grow. They will not still grow. Feeding is very, very important, but there is a difference between feeding an animal with good genetics, with quality genetics, and then feeding an animal that doesn't grow well. You have to bring in exotic pigs to your farm. It's better you use that money you use and buy pigs that don't have good genetics because they are usually more cheaper. It's better you use that money you use and buy 50 of them to buy 5 pigs with quality genetics. In the next 1 year and 6 months, you'll be happy you made such investment because those animals will grow well, they'll convert your feed well, and now that feed is very expensive, you have to utilize it on the ones that will convert the most. If I have a pig that in 6 months it can get me 50 kg, and I have another pig that in that same 6 months, if I feed it the same feed I'm feeding the other pigs, it can get me 120 kg. That means I am making far more profit than that guy who is only able to achieve 50 kg in 6 months. That's basically it. One time I posted a video about achieving 100 kg in 6 months. Some people were doubting it. The truth is, when you've not really seen something or when you don't have experience about something, you might tend to doubt it. But one thing I assure you is that if you have good genetics at your farm and you feed them well, you take care of them very well, in 6 months you can get far more than 100 kg. The least you may even be able to get is 80 kg because of how fast they are growing, because of how the kind of muscle quality they have, which means it takes little food for them to keep multiplying those muscle tissues, which of course will make them to grow faster. So in times like this, you have to increase your selling price. And another thing I noticed that most farmers don't do is they don't sell without scale. If you go anywhere in the world where they do pig farming or where they sell pigs, every one of those pigs are sold by their weight, not by looking at them and negotiating for a price. That's the worst way to sell your animals. That's the worst way. And I'm saying this because I see most farmers do this. That's the worst way to sell your animals. Don't sell by negotiating. Don't sell by looking at it. Because there sometimes you look at an animal. This animal, to your eyes, is not weighing up to 50 kg. But when you actually measure that animal on a scale, you'll be surprised that that animal is weighing over 20 kg more than the actual weight you thought you were able to see with your eyes. Basically, the pig you thought was weighing 50 kg by men looking at it is weighing over 70 kg on a scale, which means you are losing money on 20 kg, which is a very, very bad way to run your farm. So get yourself a scale. Scale are not so costly. You can get the hanging scale, which I think is cheaper, or you can get the floor scale, which we use here on our farm. When we are about to sell the pigs will basically climb on the scale, and then the weight will show, and then the buyers will take it off. So you have to do all these things. Else, you'll be running at a very big loss if you're running a pig farm. So this is basically how I'm trying my best to cope with the current high cost of running a pig farm. At the end of the day, entrepreneurship is all about hardship. That's what I always tell people. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you must become comfortable with the hardship. Entrepreneurship is not just about being your own boss and all those things. No, 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 no. That's the easy part. You have to enjoy the hardship. If you don't enjoy the hardship of entrepreneurship, you will not go far. So this is why you must basically try your best to cope in these hard times. These are the times where your true spirit as an entrepreneur will be tested. And basically, I know that if you are very passionate about pig farming, you will always succeed. Which is why I always tell people that livestock farming as a whole, in fact, agriculture as a whole has to do a lot with passion. Passion. There are some businesses you can succeed without passion, but here in livestock and agriculture, especially livestock farming, you need passion a lot because what will give you the motivation, the discipline to keep showing up every day in times like this is your passion. That's basically it. So that's basically what I wanted to share with you guys on today's video. See you people in the next video.